he's referring probably at that moment to the fact that Heidegger has been reading Heraclitus, and he's a little bit angry at Heidegger for Heidegger's flirtations, and perhaps more than flirtations with Nazism. I would say more than flirtations with Nazism. We do not need obscure fragments of Heraclitus to prove that being reveals itself as war to philosophic thought, that war does not only affect it as the most patent fact, but as the very patency or the truth of the real. And this is extraordinary stuff. Look at this. In war, reality rends the words and images that dissimulate it, to obtrude in its nudity and in its harshness. Harsh reality, a harsh object lesson at the very moment of its fulguration, when the drapings of illusion burn, war is produced as the pure experience of pure being. As the pure experience of pure being. The ontological event that takes form, and ontological always means Heidegger for Levinas. The ontological event that takes form in this black light, and think of how often the black light of Auschwitz is used as a way of talking about Auschwitz. The black light is a casting into movement of beings hitherto anchored in their identity, a mobilization of absolutes by an objective order from which there is no escape. The trial by force, the war, is the test of the real. And I'm going to skip down to the bottom. War does not manifest exteriority and the other as other. It destroys the identity of the same. The visage of being that shows itself in war is fixed in the concept of totality which dominates Western philosophy. And it will be Levinas's project to dismantle precisely that notion of totality which he gets from Hegel through Rosenzweig. I want to bring my presentation to a close by referring to a beautiful text of Levinas, one of the most beautiful he's written, one of the last also that he wrote. It's called Peace and Proximity. This is a text that is on in a collection called Basic Philosophic Writings. It is not without importance to know, when Levinas always has an understatement when he's about to say something of great importance. It is not without importance to know, and this is perhaps the European experience of the 20th century, by which he means the Shoah, which means in Hebrew annihilation. If the egalitarian and just state in which the European is accomplished, and which it is a matter of founding, and above all preserving, the conatus ascending, proceeds from a war of all against all. This is the last text, the beginning text, the last text, one of the last texts in this book. Proceeds from a war of all against all, or from the irreducible responsibility of the one for the other. Finally, for him, there's only the irreducible responsibility of the one for the other, the non-indifference to the other, the disinterestedness, the disinterestedness, the disinterestedness. You can do it either way. We need to know that. It's not without importance to know that. It's not without importance to know that that war does not become the institution of a war with a good conscience in the name of historical necessity. And this is the last part I'll read. Consciousness is born as the presence of the third party on the proximity of the one for the other. And consequently, it is to the extent that it proceeds from this that it can become disinterestedness. And we can talk about what he's doing and playing on that with the word disinter, meaning unburied, but interested, meaning being buried within being, disinterestedness. The foundation of consciousness is justice and not the reverse. A very, very powerful statement. The foundation of consciousness is justice and not the reverse. Objectivity reposing on justice. To the extravagant generosity of the for the other is superimposed a reasonable order, ancillary or angelic, of justice through knowledge, and philosophy here is a measure brought to the infinity of the being for the other, of peace and proximity, and it is like the wisdom of love. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandy, for placing Levinas and Girard in a quite logical order. It's complementary, so to say. And showing, by the way, that in the title, Totality and Infinity, the word "and" is the most important word, the crucial word. I think you've shown that. Okay, we have two readings, two quite different readings. One more epistemological, very critical, and one, well, let's say, more reconciliating. The floor is open now, for you. Yes.
Yes, I'd like to react to Richard Cohen's from the vantage point of philosophy of science. Your major argument could make sense before 1936, but it's not acceptable today. Let me tell you why. 1936, that's when it was understood for the first time that simple algorithms are capable of generating complex phenomenologies. The simple can generate the complex. 1936, okay. 1936, that's the logicist revolution triggered by logicians like Church.
There are some protests from behind. It's very close.
Gödel, and the like. There exist simple mechanisms that have a morphogenetic power, that is, that are capable of generating complex forms. If we were to take seriously what you said, we should dismiss right off whole chunks of contemporary mathematics, theoretical physics, cognitive science, and the like. For instance, we know today how to derive the whole of quantum physics from two axioms that belong to the theory of information. This feat was made in particular by the great American quantum physicist John Archibald Wheeler, who passed away a few weeks ago, and he expressed that in a striking formula, it from bit. That is, what exists can be derived from the unit of information. I mean, two axioms are enough to generate the whole of quantum physics. So your argument, as I understood it, I mean, that was part of your, that was not the only argument, was the following. Major premise, it's impossible to derive the complex from the simple. Second, a minor premise, that's what Girard's theory claims to be doing. Conclusion, Girard's theory cannot possibly be true. But your major premise is simply wrong-headed. I mean, again, its delusionary wisdom has been proven false since 1936, so we have a problem here.
Well, first of all, I would make a distinction between the natural sciences and the humanistic sciences. The natural sciences are sciences of objects, and the humanistic sciences
It's not a good argument, because Girard's
You
theory
can
is about
answer me in a moment.
mechanisms.
You can answer me in a moment. And the humanistic sciences are hermeneutical sciences. Well, that's one point. So therefore, hermeneutic interpretation of scientific discoveries are for me, have to be judged on a hermeneutic basis and not on a scientific basis. So that's one point. Now, the second point is, I didn't say that he derives a complex phenomenon from the simple. I said if you have a simple formula, it actually makes it easier and more seductive to apply it to all things. So if all things are the will to power, you will see in all things the will to power. That is, this is not dependent on Gödel's proof. It's not dependent on what happened in 1936. This has been understood for, I think, a very long time, and I think Kant finally clarified the operative problem, namely the conflict between the desire to have reason of the totality, which tempts us to these simple formulas, such as God created the universe, and the needs of understanding, which is to find the cause for things. And I think Kant rightly said that the sort of thing that reason demands by its own nature, namely the totality as a whole, is in principle unknowable. The problem of dogma arises is because this is dissatisfying to our reason. So we substitute a formula. Now that formula could be more or less complex. It seems to me that the way I see the mimetic mechanism working in Girard's work is to function in that metaphysical way. I said I don't disagree with it.